What's happening, folks? Back for the next day in our classical days journey. Over the course of this week, I wanted to thank all those who commented on and enjoyed the first day of festivities. Hello, Luca. Yes, I'm including you in that. And we're going to listen to some Georges Bizet, which is to say a French composer known for some of his incidental music, though it's interesting in the sense that some of the incidental music he made for stage or operatic productions were not particularly well received at the time, and yet over time they have become part of the popular repertoire, though in a couple of those cases they are not the full incidental music originally composed by Bizet. Allow me to explain, and indeed we're going to listen to a suite from his music for the opera Carmen. And Carmen is something that has been split into two suites historically, and more on that in a minute, but it also was culled for some of the melodies and themes by two different later composers, Sarasate and Waxman, and they both made works called Carmen Fantasy, though they're not identical, but they both drew upon the melodies and music from Bizet's original Carmen incidental music. Now, the L'Arlésienne, I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but it was another work that was turned into a musical production, and Bizet did the incidental music for it. And in that case, it wasn't particularly well received, and over time, the score was condensed down by Bizet's friend, and I wrote it down because I didn't remember the name. It's Ernest Guiraud. I'm not sure again if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but yes, he was one of Bizet's friends, and posthumously, he took some of the original score from Les Arlésiennes and put it into two orchestrated suites. And the orchestrated suites have now become very popular over the years, but they're only part of the music Bizet originally wrote for that performance. In any case, I bring up Guiraud because he also did the recitative for Carmen in Bizet's composition and was involved in putting together the second of two suites. Now here's the thing, the two original Carmen suites are 6 parts. The suite that we have here on another Deutsche Grammophon release, which is once again conducted by Herbert von Karajan and performed by the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, it features 4 parts. So I think this is even further stripped down or curated by von Karajan. So in any case, some Carmen suites you'll find online have 6 movements, but the one from this recording, which I believe is from 1983, yes, it's from 83, and as you may be able to see, maybe not, it's a bit small, but Les Arlésiennes is also on this disc. I may not do it this week, but at some point in the coming weeks and months, I will react to both of those suites. But we're going to listen to the Carmen suites, and it opens with probably the most famous piece of music from Carmen overall, and even in regard to the suites, which is the Prelude for Act 1. It's very joyous, it has an energy to it. Now, as you might not be surprised, the music from Carmen has a heavy Spanish flavor because it's set in Spain, and it's based on the... Well, it's... Are you leaving? She's less interested. I suppose I'll save that for later, but yes, it is a dramatic work set in Spain. And as I said, this opening prelude for Act 1 has a very fun and joyous sound to it. So let's get to it. This is from Georges Bizet, the first track of a special suite, seemingly curated by Herbert von Karajan, the conductor, of the Carmen music, or music from the opera Carmen. And as I said, we begin with the prelude to Act 1. incredible, right? I do think that part in the middle, which has a very pleasing, delightful melody to it, I think that's the Toreador March. And indeed, what I was going to say about the story is I don't remember details, but Carmen, I think, is a very beautiful lady, and I think she's involved in a love triangle. One of the guys is definitely a toreador, a bullfighter. I think maybe the other guy is too, or maybe he's not, but yes, I think she ends up breaking maybe more than one heart along the way, and I think maybe the bullfighter dies by the end. In the moment, I'm not remembering the details. I have actually seen it many, many years ago with my parents, but when you're a kid and when something is not in English, it wasn't something that I was able to get a full sense of the story on back when I saw it perform. But yes, the incidental music is great, and as I said, I think more than any other piece, the one we just heard is the one that you might find in, best of Bizet compilations and, concert programs where they're playing, like classical fireworks and so on. So I don't know what Luca's doing over there. I do have to go check. Nevertheless, we will go through the remaining 3 tracks in this special suite. As I said, it seems like there's a couple historical Carmen suites that were arranged or organized by, what's his name, Ernest Guiraud, but this one only has 4 parts. So yes, ultimately I think this is like a special suite made maybe for this particular performance. In any case, shout out to, as always, Herbert von Karajan and the Berlin Philharmonic, as well as to all of you who are going with me on these Classical Days journeys, and I will see you in a moment. Peace.